What we do is we sanctify Christ, and that gives us a ready defense to everyone who asks you for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. I'll be honest with you, I never really saw the importance of this verse. I was just kind of felt like this was one of those always be ready to witness verses. So it kind of sounded like this in my translation. Just go, if somebody comes up to you and wants to know about your Jesus, you ought to always be ready to tell them about Jesus. So always be ready to have an answer. So, work through all the scenarios. What if somebody comes up to you and says this? Well, you need to know that. You got to have this verse in your filing cabinet of your heart. Put that out there in front of them. But I don't think that's what Peter says at all. Peter doesn't say, always have an answer for every single question. So if somebody asks you a question about creation, or somebody asks you a question about abortion, or somebody asks you a question about the rapture, or somebody asks you a question about resurrection, have 15 verses. No. Peter's very clear. He says, listen, you're living in a world where everybody's afraid they're going to hell in a handbasket, right? They're screaming conspiracy. You're different. Set Christ aside in your heart. And then when people ask you how you can be so insane as to have hope in a hopeless world, you better be ready to have a reason why. Because right now, you look like an idiot if you have hope in this hopeless world. You look like you got your head in the sand and you're not paying attention. What's wrong with you? Can't you see we're going to hell in a handbasket? And Peter says you need to have a reason, a defense. Look at that word, a defense. Defend yourself against the accusation that only a crazy person would have hope in a hopeless world. You better be able to defend yourself, because I'm telling you, the people think it's a conspiracy. All around you, they're full of conspiracy theories, and they look at this weirdo, you, who is not freaking out over all the conspiracy theories, and Peter says, you better be ready to have a reason why you're not scared. And the reason isn't, well, I haven't been paying attention, or I don't know what's going on. That's not a reasonable defense, that's just ignorance. There's a difference in apathy and rest. Let me say that again. There's a real difference in resting in crisis and just not knowing you're in one. All right? I've met a lot of believers like, I've just been resting lately. And I think, I don't know if what you're doing is rest, but I'm positive it's lazy. You don't even know the tragedy that's going on around you. You can claim that it's rest, but there's no proactivity at all towards avoiding storm number 2. And that's part of learning about storm number 1, is to keep from running headlong into storm number 2. So you hear me talk a lot about chaos. You want to understand what order is about. It's walking out of the last piece of chaos and going, I could have missed that if I had turned left instead of right. You could go, well, I'm at rest. I don't turn at all. Good luck with the next piece of chaos, because you didn't learn anything from the first one. All right? So sometimes we call rest, it's really just apathy. I'm not talking about being ignorant, head in the sand. I'm talking about you see the conspiracy going on. You hear what people are saying. You see the line in the sand and the hatred on both sides. You better have a defense for why there's hope inside of you. Maybe the best place to start is, do you have any hope? Do you have hope in the middle of a world that has no hope? And if you don't, then we need to start by introducing you to the stumbling block. And one of the reasons why you may have no hope in the middle of this world is because you're still doing much of this on your own, and there is no stumbling block of offense. The same thing Isaiah said was going to happen to people. They're going to have a stumbling block of offense because Christ is real and he is alive in their lives. And that makes us stumble whenever we trust on our own self.